In this chess video, we're going to be talking about the top 3 chaps from the Scandinavian Defense. The Scandinavian Defense starts with e4, d5. The main move here is for white to take. Playing something like e5 isn't as effective. Typically in your games, white is probably going to take this pawn. Now for beginner and intermediate players, black is usually going to take back with the queen. However, every once in a while, black will play knight f6, and in fact this is the top computer move. This is because black tries to take back with the knight and then fortify the structure with e6 and c6. For this trap to work, white needs to play bishop to c4, baiting black to take this pawn, and then playing knight c3. Now one move that you might see here is knight b6 because it attacks the bishop. Now, it is important that you keep this bishop on this diagonal for the trap to work. So you should play bishop to b3. Black plays a regular developing move like knight c6. You develop with knight f3. And the key thing here is for black to play bishop to g4. Now, this is pretty much immediately losing because of a really smart move. This is bishop takes f7. If black takes back, well, knight g5 wins because now black is in check and the bishop is now under attack. If black plays something like king e8, then white just takes the pawn. Now, what happens if after bishop takes f7, black does not take? Well, if black plays something like king to d7, well, now the position is still completely winning. With something like d4, d5, and then bringing the queen in, it should be a very favorable position for white. The other two traps come from a slightly different variation. After captures, black is going to take back the queen. I mentioned this is the most common move in beginner and intermediate games, and it's typically what you're going to see in most of your games. In this position, white wants to play knight c3 to attack the queen. The queen drops back. Now the main move is actually queen a5. However, queen d8 is also a very common move among beginners, just simply dropping the queen back. White should play something like d4 to take control of the center. And one common move that you see here is knight to c6. Black looks to put pressure on the d4 pawn, so white defends it with knight f3. And one move that you might see here is bishop to g4. This is extremely common. Now, because of the pin, black is starting to take the d4 pawn. So what does white do? White plays d5. This relieves the pressure. However, it does allow knight to e5, and now there's two minor pieces attacking the knight. Now, rather than playing something like bishop to e2 or bishop to f4, h3 or anything, you actually want to take this knight, giving up your queen, because there is a really deadly move. That is bishop to b5. Black's only move here is c6. White simply takes this pawn and the game is over. If black plays something like a6 to attack the bishop, well, white has two main ways to win here, and that is c7. The queen is under attack and the king is in check. If black takes, well, white simply takes the queen. Once they take back, white can take the rook. The computer puts this position at plus 5.9 as white is up an entire piece, and this fractured structure means that white can win these pawns easily and win the game. Now, the other way to win here is after a6, white should play c takes b7. Again, it's the same situation as before, but instead of the queen being attacked, the rook is now under attack. Black takes just like before, but rather than taking this rook here, which allows queen takes a8, followed by after takes, queen takes g2, attacking the rook and threatening a fork. Overall, the position is minus 3.9, not good for white. Instead, after c takes b7 and takes, white wants to play knight to c6. And now the difference is the queen and the rook are under attack, and black cannot defend both. If black plays something like queen d7, then now white can take, and then now there's checkmate. But more commonly, you'll see queen b8, which is the best move that black can play, but it's still losing because white simply takes the queen. After black takes back, white takes the bishop, and black takes the pawn. It is plus 3.3, should be a fairly easy win for white, but it's also important to note that material piecewise is equal, as white has 2 rooks, black has 2 rooks, white has a bishop, black has a bishop, white has a knight, and black also has a knight, but white has 6 pawns, whereas black only has 5, and 1 pawn is isolated. So the proper way to win here would be to push this 3-on-1 majority and push all these pawns down the board to promote. This should be a fairly easy game for white, simply picking off this pawn and then pushing the pawn to promote and win the game. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video on the Scandinavian defense traps. Thanks for watching.